insulting Genghis Khan's diplomats. In 1218, the Khwarezmian Empire made one fatal mistake. They killed Genghis Khan's trade delegation, and worse, shaved the heads of his ambassadors. Genghis saw this not just as betrayal, but as unforgivable humiliation. His response? A full-scale invasion. Within just a few years, the Khwarezmian Empire was erased from the map. Cities burned, millions dead. One act of arrogance sparked one of the most devastating retaliations in history. The fall of the Berlin Wall, by accident, November 9, 1989. East German official Günter Schabowski fumbled during a press conference. When asked when new travel laws would take effect, he nervously replied, "As far as I know, immediately." That one off-script comment triggered thousands to flood the Berlin Wall checkpoints. The guards, totally unprepared, panicked and let them through. That night, the Berlin Wall, a Cold War symbol for nearly 30 years, was effectively gone. All because of one man's miscommunication. The Four Pests Campaign. War on Nature. In 1958, Mao Zedong declared war on four pests: rats, flies, mosquitoes, and sparrows. Yes, sparrows. The logic? Sparrows ate grain. But here's the catch. They also ate locusts. After the sparrows were nearly wiped out, locusts swarmed, unchecked. Crops failed. The result? One of the deadliest famines in history. Over 30 million people died, all because of a wildly misguided environmental policy. Thomas Midgley, Jr., the man who helped too much. He added lead to gasoline and poisoned the air we breathe. Then he invented CFCs for refrigerators and destroyed the ozone layer. Thomas Midgley Jr. wasn't evil. He was trying to solve problems, but he ended up causing two of the most massive environmental disasters in history. Scientists say no single person has done more damage to the Earth than him. And here's the cruel twist. He later built a device to move his polio-stricken body and accidentally strangled himself with it. Byzantium ignoring the engineer who could have saved them. In 1452, a Hungarian engineer named Orban offered his services to Constantinople. He had a weapon that could level walls, a massive cannon, but the Byzantine emperor couldn't afford him, so Orban turned to the enemy. Just months later, that same cannon smashed through Constantinople's defenses, ending the Byzantine Empire. They literally turned away the man who would destroy them. Kim Jong-nam's Disneyland trip. Kim Jong-nam, the older brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, made a mistake in 2001. He tried to sneak into Tokyo using a fake Dominican passport to visit Disneyland. He got caught. The embarrassment cost him his position as heir. Years later, in a Malaysian airport, he was assassinated with VX nerve agent in broad daylight. The trigger? One unauthorized trip to Disneyland. Operation Barbarossa. Hitler's fatal miscalculation. June 22, 1941. Hitler breaks his pact with Stalin and launches Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. He expected a quick victory. Instead, he walked into a nightmare. Soviet winters froze his troops. Supply lines collapsed. The Eastern Front bled Nazi Germany dry. That single decision turned the tide of World War II and ultimately led to Hitler's downfall. A wrong turn. That sparked World War I. June 28, 1914. Archduke Franz Ferdinand's driver makes a wrong turn and accidentally drives past Gavrilo Princip, a teenage assassin who just happened to still be there. Princip seizes the moment and fires 2 bullets, 1 assassination, and the world spirals into war. Over 20 million dead, all because of a wrong turn on a quiet street in Sarajevo. The U-110 capture, cracking Hitler's secrets. In 1941, German submarine U-110 was damaged and abandoned by its crew, thinking it would sink, but it didn't. British forces boarded it, and inside found the Enigma machine, the Nazi code device. That single mistake let the Allies break encrypted German communications, saving countless lives and accelerating Hitler's defeat. One U-boat, one oversight, war-changing intelligence. The Maginot Line, France's false sense of security. France built the Maginot Line, an impenetrable wall of fortifications along its German border. But guess what? Hitler just went around it, through Belgium. The line was strong, but completely useless where the attack actually came. Billions spent, no resistance. France fell in just 6 weeks. Russia sells Alaska for pennies. In 1867, Russia sold Alaska to the U.S. for $7.2 million, just 2 cents per acre. They thought it was a frozen wasteland. Fast forward, gold, oil, strategic military position. The U.S. struck it rich. Russia's useless territory became one of America's most valuable assets, a deal they've regretted ever since. Alexander the Great leaves no heir. At just 32, Alexander the Great had conquered most of the known world, but he made one fatal oversight. He named no successor. When he died, his empire fractured overnight. Generals fought, territories splintered. What could have been a 1,000-year empire died in a generation, all because of one missing name. Columbus thinks he's in Asia. When Columbus landed in 1492, he was convinced he'd reached India. He hadn't. He was in the Caribbean and refused to believe otherwise. That error launched centuries of colonization and the misnaming of millions of people as Indians, a miscalculation that literally redefined continents. Rome trusts a Germanic chief who burns it. In the late 4th century, the Roman Empire made a deal with a Gothic leader named Alaric. They gave him land, authority, trust, but when they refused to pay him, he turned, and in 410 AD, Alaric sacked Rome itself. It was the first time the Eternal City fell in 800 years, a friend turned foe, and the beginning of Rome's end. Constantine V trusts the wrong people. Byzantine Emperor Constantine V was obsessed with rooting out enemies. He exiled monks, persecuted religious leaders, but in his purge, he alienated the very people who protected the empire. His paranoia weakened internal stability and left Byzantium vulnerable to Arab invasions. Fear destroyed more than any enemy ever did. Treaty of Versailles, planting the seeds of World War II. After World War I, the Allies imposed the Treaty of Versailles. Harsh reparations, humiliation, crushed economy. They thought they were securing peace. Instead, they fueled resentment, paved the way for Hitler's rise, and set the stage for an even deadlier war. Peace terms so brutal, they guaranteed revenge. The bear that nearly triggered World War III, 1962. Cold War tensions are at a boiling point. The Cuban Missile Crisis has just passed. The world is on edge. At a U.S. Air Force base in Minnesota, a soldier notices a figure scaling the perimeter fence. It's night, no visibility. Fearing a Soviet sabotage attempt, he immediately sounds the intruder alarm. In a terrifying chain reaction, nearby bases, including those armed with nuclear bombers, interpret it as a potential full-scale attack. Fighter jets are scrambled. Bombers are prepped. The U.S. is seconds from going on nuclear alert. And the intruder? Not a spy, not a soldier, just a black bear looking for food. A wild animal almost triggered nuclear Armageddon, all because of Cold War paranoia and one hair trigger alert system. Chernobyl. The button they shouldn't have pressed. April 1986. Soviet engineers begin a late-night safety test at the Chernobyl nuclear plant, but they disable key systems, ignore warnings, and violate multiple protocols. Then, they push the wrong button. In seconds, reactor number 4 explodes. Radioactive fallout spreads across Europe. Thousands suffer. Entire towns are abandoned, all because of blind obedience and a catastrophic chain of human error. One test, one mistake. The worst nuclear disaster in history. Napoleon invades Russia, and the snow wins. In the summer of 1812, Napoleon marches into Russia with over 600,000 men, confident, ruthless. But the Russians retreat, burn their own cities, and wait for winter. By December, starvation and freezing temperatures turn the Grand Army into a graveyard. Only about 10,000 soldiers make it out alive. One of the greatest military leaders in history, defeated by snow, hunger, and hubris. NASA's Unit Conversion Catastrophe. 1999. NASA launches the Mars Climate Orbiter, a multi-million-dollar satellite to study the red planet. But something goes wrong. The probe enters Mars' atmosphere at the wrong angle and burns up instantly. Why? One team used metric units, the other, imperial. A simple failure to convert kilometers to miles destroyed a $327 million spacecraft, literally lost in translation.